If you could remove one event from your life, what would it be? Being robbed by someone I considered a friend. Ruined my trust in people. My roommate robbed me and our friend group. I feel you, man. When my brother was in college, he started learning how to play the guitar. He had a lot of fun with it and eventually bought like a $250 acoustic guitar. He was really proud of the progress he made in just under a year, and it was his first time ever learning an instrument. But then his roommate stole it and sold it for heroin. It's been 5 years and he hasn't played guitar since. I feel really bad for him because he was pretty good. Man needs a new guitar. Finding and reading the spiral-bound notebook filled with my mom's ramblings during one of her bad bipolar episodes, wherein she described being raped at the age of 20. I was 8 when I read it. That must be traumatizing as an adult to read that, let alone a kid. I learned a while back not to read my family's journals. They were written at low points in their lives. It's not productive to read what thoughts people might have had about you colors the relationships. I'm purposely destroying journals and various writings that might hurt someone. Thanks for that. I'm digging up any of my old journals, also written at lowest points in life, and destroying them. They're super cringy anyway. If I can't bear to read what I wrote, no one else should have to. Good advice. I witnessed a nasty murder. I was in my Jeep with the top down and watched 2 guys argue on the sidewalk. I didn't want to get involved, so I just sat there. One guy pulled out a homemade knife, shank, and plunged it into the other guy's eye. The sound was horrific. I wish I had beeped my horn or something and tried to get them to move along. The guy was later caught and convicted of murder, but I'll never forget the crunching sound when that knife went into his skull. Nightmares for life. Also, my motorcycle accident where I nearly lost my leg 35 years ago. That sucked. Sorry you had to experience this, but definitely did the right thing. If you tried to intervene, that could have been your skull as well. Agreeing to a deal with my parents. It led to me going to their choice of my college instead of mine, and it led to me having a ton of debt, and it led to me working dead-end jobs instead of becoming a teacher. Funnily, when your life goes south because of the decisions that were forced on you, some parents always make it out as if you were the loser who could not make it work for him and were to blame. It's obviously human nature to avoid taking the blame, but it's a dick move that you can't counter. Reversely, whenever you rebel and it all turns out well for you, they feel an unnatural amount of pride in their upbringing, and all the times they were obstacles in your path are just forgotten. Yep, this is my mom to a T. Whined about me wasting time and money on a hobby right up until it landed me the job that got me through college. Then she had this whole song and dance routine about how good for me that hobby was. The upside is she stopped being an ass about my interests and supported me through college. Breaking my ankle when I was 8, I was trying to climb my grandma's rose apple tree and shattered my ankle. I'm in my 20s and have had 7 operations on it and ended up effing my other leg while trying to avoid injury on my crappy ankle, all because I wanted a fruit and grandma told me to wait until morning. My life would have been much easier and less painful if I listened to my gran, and now I just wish she was still here telling me that I need to clean my ears and listen more, because whenever I didn't listen to her I ended in stupid situations. Broke my talus bone, the biggest bone in your foot, playing pickup basketball since I wore the wrong shoes that week. Just demolished it and ruined my 22nd summer. But that's when I would lay in the yard and just loved reading On the Road and other classics. Made me want to become a writer. Edit. Thanks for the awards. To answer, did I become a writer? See below. I have had 4 surgeries to date to clean up the ankle, saw bone and lengthen my Achilles. I was a track and cross-country runner, but can never do that again. But it's okay. My brother's suicide. I believe my life would be completely different had this not had happened. Me too, mate. It really separates your whole life into before and after. Lost my wife at 28, she went to the hospital with a major headache and I stayed home with our 3-month-old daughter. She didn't make it through the night, brain aneurysm. I never really realized it, but my whole existence since then has been before and after. Edit. Thank you guys for all the questions and well wishes. This is the most I've ever really opened up about all of this stuff, and it is proving to be a bit therapeutic. That's terrible. I hope you and your daughter are fine. We are doing okay. It was over 8 years ago, but the whole thing also set off a whole other chain of events. She had 2 kids from a previous relationship that lived with us and would see their dad on every other weekend. He and I never could get along, so those 2 that I was raising for almost 4 years got ripped from my life at the same time. There was also an issue with our house as we were renting to own, and the landlord didn't want to honor that contract with just me living there. Found a bank that would give me a loan, bought the place, met a wonderful woman and remarried and have another beautiful daughter, and we still live in that house. Only thing missing would be my 2 step-kids. I see them around once or twice a year. Their father died in a car accident a few years back. I'm happy to hear you gained your life back as much as you could. Thanks, we are holding our own. Before and after really sums it up. Holy crap, those 2 kids haven't had a good time. Kills me to even think about it. My daughter was lucky in that she had my grandmother to help raise her. While I was working overtime every week, my gram kept her company. 2 years ago, when she was 6, Gram died in a car crash. After seeing my daughter's face when I told her about that, I can't imagine the pain those kids must have felt when they heard about their father. My sister-in-law's death caused my brother to suicide. I lost 2 people in a time span of 6 weeks. I never want to go through that again. It has been just over a year now. My dad dropping dead in front of me when I was a teen. Holy F. That's awful. Never pass up a moment to tell your parents or loved ones you love them. Whoa, I'm sorry for your loss. I apologize for asking this, but how did your dad die? Thanks, stranger. No worries, I don't mind. He had a massive heart attack after working out. I think he was diabetic and it went undetected for a number of years or something, but I actually don't remember all the details. All I remember is he had some kind of health scare that resulted in him quitting smoking and trying to eat healthy and exercise. I do remember them saying after the autopsy results that if he had lived to take the treadmill stress test he had scheduled, that he would likely have died on the treadmill. That reminded me of the scene from The End of the Effing World, where the protagonist boy goes bowling with his dad and they're finally getting along, but the dad falls to the floor out of nowhere. Hope you and the rest of your family have found peace. I'll have to watch that. That's eerily similar, minus the bowling part. We never had a great relationship, but the last year or so before he passed we were getting along pretty well. It's a good show. Very weird, quite dark, sometimes deep but mostly funny. The bowling scene happens in season 2. Crossing a road in Melbourne in 1999. Got hit by car and given permanent brain damage, and from that moment my life changed course forever. If it hadn't happened, I would have had a much different, much less painful life. I was working part-time as a gardener, studying IT, preparing to apply for university to do a course on journalism which I had a good chance of getting into. Was also doing volunteer work with street people, and paneling and presenting a couple of radio shows on a minor AM radio station. And had just done over a year of physical rehabilitation for a bad back, lots of gym and fitness work, physio, and I was about the fittest I've ever been. Then I crossed the road and everything changed forever. I'm the opposite. I was the driver when an allegedly drunk/drugged-up teenager crossed the road at night wearing black clothes in the rain. I didn't even hit the brakes, that's how fast it happened. I stopped and had to run out into the middle of a busy intersection to make sure he wasn't hit by any other cars. He lived, but it sounds like he is going through what you're going through. The images and sounds I have of that night have almost ruined my life. I went through hell with my brain and mind replaying those constantly. I'm finally on the way back to who I once was, but I doubt I'll ever feel whole again. I feel very sorry for you having to experience that. It must be a horrible weight for you, having those memories play back like that. What can you do under those circumstances though? It's not your fault, but you're stuck with those memories. That's a very rough deal for you. I was in a way fortunate because I have no memory of the accident at all, apart from small moments either side which may or may not be what was happening. From my perspective, I was watching the footy on the weekend, on the telephone. Next thing I'm in a hospital days later being told I was hit by a car. Poor nurses that had to put up with my crap. I thought they stole my clothes and were keeping me prisoner. I was that concussed. I'm not sure how the driver feels these days, but it was entirely his fault and he took out a sign before he hit me. It was broad daylight, and he decided to pull a dodgy overtake on a slower car. and drove on the median strip where I was standing. He hit my leg, which flipped me backwards onto my skull, at speed, and smashed my ankle. He then took off, only stopped long enough to give his details, then disappeared, never got charged. It's great having copper mates sometimes. But I bear him no malice. He made a mistake, and I hope he learned from it. I've made plenty of mistakes myself. I don't even know what he looks, just a name and suburb. Would have liked to be able to remember what happened, for the sake of full clarity. But on the other hand, with the kind of memories that plague you, maybe it was a good thing after all having amnesia. I hope you can find some peace one day from the painful memories. I hope you find peace and happiness through your recovery. Yes, very different circumstances, as I was actually found not at fault. I only know what he looks like from social media, as apparently we seem to have some common friends. From what I gathered, he seems to be back to normal and his recovery was a success. I truly hope he finds peace as well. He was in a coma for I believe 21 or 24 days, so I doubt he remembers anything either. Hang in there, man, one step at a time and keep moving forward. Good luck to you. Thanks very much, I appreciate it. Also, I found it helpful to hear from someone who's been on the other side of the metal box, but also not at fault. I have never given much thought to how the driver must have felt. I hope it didn't destroy his life too. My wife passing away. Let's just remove that part and have her sitting next to me right now talking about the ham she's going to make for Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. I came here to say the same thing. In case you haven't found it yet, there's a sub for us r/widowers. I lost my husband in July and it's unreal how much my life has changed in only 4 months. I joined the subreddit, under a different account, about a week after he passed. I'm now on the Discord so often, I can't remember how it was to not be part of the support group. PSF 2020 edit, the subreddit is not exclusively for widowers. Any gender is welcome, and any romantic life partner loss regardless of whether you were legally married. Reddit link. I haven't had anything as bad happen as you have, but I just want to chime in with a F 2020. Worst year of my life by far. I'm sorry for what you're going through. I'm sorry. We all are. Jesus man, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I hope you're doing good. The time I had ear surgery and the anesthesia effed with my brain, and now I can't effing function as a person. I went in for surgery on a broken leg, and left with brain damage. I know what you are going through. How did they even manage to do that? Anesthesia. Blood clots. Allergic reactions. That's terrible. Why can't they find out if you're allergic first? Allergies are weird. Sometimes you'll be fine for years and then it suddenly develops. Or you won't know until you've been exposed and had a reaction. Considering that almost anything can be an allergy, it's unreasonable, if not impossible, to test for every potential trigger. That's really scary that it could just happen. I've lived with ADHD/Asperger's syndrome for my entire life, and it can be discouraging at times, but having a completely normal brain function and then losing some of it must be really painful. I practice anesthesia. I'd like to hear your story if you wouldn't mind DMing me. Man, I didn't know it was possible for that to happen. My aunt went in for a knee surgery and came out just different. She had a complete mental breakdown when her father passed away. He was old and sick and it was expected. She had to go into treatment for several weeks. She died from cancer a few years later and swore to the end that something about that anesthesia messed up her brain. It was even mentioned at her funeral by her husband. I feel terrible for my step-grandma. Her daughter had a routine knee replacement at 40 and never woke up. I went in for wisdom teeth surgery, first time under. Came out with anxiety and panic attacks with a side of brain fog. Was not a fun couple of months trying to wrangle it in while the SSRIs took hold. I recently went under to get all 4 removed. I woke up crying and cried for about 30 minutes, but I don't know why. Not even soft crying like hardcore bawling. Is there a reason for this reaction? I had this exact reaction when I had my wisdom teeth out. Just uncontrollable sobbing for way too long for no reason. I wasn't in pain. I wasn't upset. My body just had to do the crying thing and I couldn't stop it. It was annoying both to me and to the nurse who couldn't release me until I stopped. Wish I knew why that reaction happens too. What's life like? I just realized I didn't have chronic pain or fatigue, and brain fog, until after I was put under for eye surgery, and now I'm pissed. Which eye surgery? You're freaking me out. It's not as common as like laser eye surgery or anything, but it's essentially when they suture the muscles in one eye to make them straighter. Unfortunately, 2 surgeries and my eyes are still about as straight as I am. Username checks out, sorry. Oh no. I'm just going to say it, this thread is so sad. I thought for sure it would be more embarrassing but funny stuff, but it's actually just a lot of really sad events. Right, I thought I would join in and talk about the time I decided not to pick up some gravy I spilled, since I knew my mom was going to pick it up. I ended up tripping on that gravy and fractured my toe and gave myself a concussion. Now I feel like my story is out of place. Lol, it was right after Thanksgiving too. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.